Ever start to think about how, trillions of dollars change hands every single day in the financial markets
Yeah.
and how we make sure it's all above board?
Yeah, how do we keep track?
Exactly. So today we're going to plunge into a really critical process. Maybe a bit under the radar for some, but it's called trade reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like the financial world's detailed diary, its memory bank,
Yeah.
really, and why keeping that record straight is just so crucial.
That's a good way to put it. We're essentially exploring how you piece together the entire story of a single trade. From the very first idea, maybe a chat message, right through to the final execution.
Okay?
So our goal here in this deep dive is to really get under the hood. What is trade reconstruction? Why does it matter so much for the health of the whole system? And we'll pull out the key stuff from the FinCrime intelligence material we looked at.
And it's quite a landscape. We'll be looking at the actual rules, the regulations that demand this happens.
Right.
Then the steps involved in actually doing it properly. The tech, which is huge now.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
And how it all fits into that bigger fight against financial crime. So, yeah, get ready for a bit of an inside look at how markets are policed, so to speak.
Okay, so let's start right there then. What exactly are we talking about when we say trade reconstruction?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Fundamentally, it's a regulatory requirement, a must-do. Financial firms, they have to be able to recreate their trading activities completely, accurately.
And not just the trades themselves, right?
No, exactly. It includes all the related communications, too, the back and forth around those trades. We're
Right.
talking super granular detail. Every order, every trade, every message.
Email, chat, voice.
All time-stamped. Precisely when it happened.
And, this isn't just about ticking boxes for the sake of it. Being able to pull up that complete, verifiable history, it serves some really fundamental purposes. Obviously, compliance is key.
Right.
But beyond that, it's a cornerstone for investigating potential issues. And for market surveillance, too, just keeping an eye on the big picture, spotting weird patterns.
Exactly. It really moves beyond just, okay, regulator says we have to.
Yeah.
It becomes this powerful tool, identifying potential financial crime, making sure the playing field is level, that kind of thing. When you can properly reconstruct that whole life cycle of a trade, from glimmer in the eye to completion, you start seeing things, patterns maybe, that you'd otherwise miss completely.
Yeah, like being able to see the exact sequence of events. It can help firms spot irregularities, maybe settle a dispute with a client using hard data,
Oh, that's a good point.
and just generally show the regulators, look, we're transparent. Here's exactly what happened.
So what are some concrete situations where this really becomes vital?
Well, think about suspected insider trading. That's a classic. Someone may be trading on information the public doesn't have yet.
Right.
Being able to reconstruct every step, who traded what, when, who talked to whom right before, maybe during, that can be incredibly powerful evidence.
I can imagine.
Or, market abuse concerns, or even just figuring out what went wrong in an operational mess-up. Trade reconstruction is absolutely key to getting answers.
Okay, so it's clearly super important. But who actually makes these rules? Who tells the banks and the trading firms they have to do this?
We're talking about the big regulatory players globally. So in the U.S., you've got the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Okay.
Across the EU, it's ESMA, European Securities and Markets Authority. And in the UK, the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority.
And these aren't just like friendly suggestions, I take it. There are teeth behind these rules.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
These bodies have put in place very specific regulations, things like MiFID II in Europe,
Heard of that one.
the Dodd-Frank Act in the U.S., MAR, the Market Abuse Regulation, also Europe. These spell out, often in painful detail, what data firms have to store.
What kind of data are we talking about?
Everything. Communications, emails, IMs, those recorded voice lines, all the order details, microsecond timestamps, trade confirmations, the works. And crucially, how fast they need to be able to retrieve it if a regulator asks.
And that retrieval time can be tight.
Sometimes surprisingly so, yeah. You don't always have weeks to dig through archives.
And if a firm just can't or doesn't have their system set up right, it sounds like a big risk.
You're absolutely right. The consequences for noncompliance, they can be pretty severe. We're talking big fines, millions sometimes, official sanctions, And maybe just as bad, serious damage to their reputation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nobody wants that headline.
Exactly. You don't want to be known as the firm that can't account for its own trading.
Okay, so we get why it's critical and who's enforcing it. But let's get practical. What does a complete trade reconstruction actually involve? What are the key pieces of the puzzle you need?
Right, so a really effective reconstruction pulls together several crucial streams of information. First up, you need that comprehensive order life cycle data.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means tracking an order right from the moment it's first entered, through any changes, maybe cancellations, all the way to when it's finally executed, seeing that whole journey.
Got it. From idea to reality.
What else?
Then you need the time-stamped trade end quote data. So the hard facts of when the trade happened and what the market prices look like at that precise instant.
Okay.
Also, vital trader communications. And this is broad now, not just email. It's the instant messages, the chat logs built into trading platforms, even those recorded phone calls if they might have influenced the trade.
Wow, that's potentially a huge amount of communication data to link up.
It is. And it keeps growing. Plus, you also need system and algorithm logs.
Ah, so what the machines were doing.
Exactly. Records of the internal workings of the trading systems, any automated decisions made by algorithms, and finally, surveillance alerts and their audit trails.
What are those? These are like automated red flags. Systems often flag unusual activity. You need to know if an alert was triggered for a particular trade and, crucially, what happened next. Did someone look into it? When all that stuff, ordered data, times, comms, system logs, alerts, comes together,
Then you get the full picture.
then you can really analyze the who, what, when, where, and importantly, the why behind a trade.
It sounds incredibly complex, especially when you think about the sheer volume of trades happening every second. Doing this by hand, it seems, well, impossible now.
You've absolutely nailed it. In today's markets, high volume, high frequency trading, manual reconstruction is just, it's not feasible, not even close.
So technology has to step in.
It's indispensable. And we're talking modern tech, AI, machine learning, natural language processing, NLP. They're becoming central to tackling this challenge.
Okay, so how do things like AI and NLP actually help with reconstructing a trade?
Well, they automate what used to be an incredibly painstaking manual process of gathering and linking all that different data.
Right, finding the needle in the haystack.
Exactly. AI and machine learning can analyze these enormous data sets way faster and, frankly, often more accurately than humans can. And NLP is key for the communications side, understanding the content of emails, chats, figuring out which conversation relates to which trade.
So it connects the dots between the chat and the transaction record.
Precisely. The benefits are huge. Better accuracy, investigations that take hours instead of weeks, and it supports more proactive surveillance, too. You can start spotting potential issues almost as they happen.
Interesting. Can it find connections humans might miss?
Sometimes, yes.
Right.
Unexpected correlations between, say, a certain type of communication and a subsequent trading pattern, things that wouldn't necessarily jump out at you.
So trade reconstruction isn't just this separate thing sitting over in a corner. It sounds like it has to be plugged into everything else a firm does for compliance.
Absolutely. It's really a fundamental piece of a firm's overall compliance strategy. It's tightly linked with other key functions, trade surveillance, obviously the ongoing monitoring, but also things like anti-money laundering, AML programs, and conduct risk frameworks, basically ensuring people are behaving ethically.
So having good trade reconstruction actually boosts your other defenses against financial crime or bad behavior.
Exactly right. When you get that unified view, when you can easily link a suspicious trade to the related chats, see the trader's history, check if any system alerts fired, it gives you a much clearer, much fuller understanding of what might be going on.
Makes sense.
And those firms that really integrate reconstruction into their broader risk and compliance systems, they're just much better placed to spot threats early, escalate them properly, and resolve them effectively. You start to see how different risks might connect.
Okay, this all sounds vital. Makes perfect sense. But I imagine actually implementing this effectively, it's not always straightforward. What kind of challenges do firms run into?
Oh, there are definitely hurdles. A really common one is data silos.
Meaning data stuck in different places.
Yeah, exactly. Crucial information, trade data here, email data there, voice recording somewhere else, stored in separate systems. Often incompatible, they don't talk to each other easily.
Nightmare for pulling things together.
Total nightmare. Another big one is inconsistent data formats. Different systems recording similar things but in slightly different ways makes combining and analyzing it really tough and slow. And then there's always the issue of incomplete audit trails. Maybe records are missing key details, or sometimes they're just missing entirely.
Ouch. So how do firms get past these roadblocks? What are the best practices for actually building a system that works?
Well, several key things make a big difference. Centralizing data storage where possible, or at least ensuring the systems can talk to each other, interoperability, that's huge.
Okay, break down the silos.
Pretty much. Establishing really consistent naming conventions and detailed metadata tagging across all your data sources, that just makes finding and linking information much easier.
Like a good filing system.
Exactly. Regular system testing is vital too. Make sure it actually works when you need it. And good staff training so people understand their roles. And finally, adopting technology platforms that are flexible, scalable, and can support near real-time reconstruction. That's becoming more and more important. You need speed.
Looking ahead then, what's the future hold for trade reconstruction?
Hmm.
Is this importance likely to fade or?
Oh, absolutely not. If anything, it's going to become even more important. Regulatory expectations aren't getting any looser, they're getting tighter.
Right.
And market structures are getting more complex, more algorithms, faster trading, new communication channels. So yeah, investing in smart, scalable solutions isn't just about ticking today's compliance box. It's really about building a strategic advantage for the future, strengthening your risk management, ensuring your operational integrity long term.
And just to provide context, the insights we've been discussing today, they stem from work by FinCrime Intelligence.
That's right. Their platform really focused on providing that deep content, those resources for professionals who are working in the trenches fighting financial crime.
Helping people stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Equipping organizations with the knowledge they need to navigate this constantly evolving landscape and really bolster their defenses.
So wrapping up our deep dive then, it's really clear trade reconstruction is, well, it's way more than just some bureaucratic chore. It's this dynamic, essential process. It really underpins the stability, the integrity of our financial market.
Absolutely. It demands that meticulous record keeping, yes, but also the smart use of sophisticated tech. And it has to be woven into the fabric of a firm's wider compliance efforts.
Really involves capturing and analyzing just a vast amount of data, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And its success really hinges on that technology and how well it's integrated.
Precisely. You can't separate them anymore.
It kind of highlights the incredible amount of work, often unseen, that goes into trying to keep markets transparent and secure. It's this constant race, really, adapting to keep pace with how financial crime itself keeps evolving.
Yeah, that's a great point. This whole area underscores that you need ongoing vigilance, a real commitment to these foundational practices. They're absolutely crucial for maintaining that trust and stability that the whole system relies on. Makes you think about the sheer scale of data and tech needed just to keep watch.